So I think the first part of that is a leader's job is actually about the performance of the organisation. And so I think for really great leaders are seeing mental health and wellbeing through a performance lens. Leaders who are struggling with this are seeing it through a welfare or staff benefit lens. And when I talk about a performance lens, it's actually, we operate in the cognitive economy. Almost all businesses are actually monetize the brains of the people in it. And therefore, once you understand that your business monetizes people's brains, then actually the value of that business and your competitive advantage is how well those brains are at any given point in time and how well used those brains are at any given point in time. Once you understand that, this is actually, mental health and wellbeing are actually a core performance competitive thing. And good leaders are then saying, what do we need to do to get that working? I think leaders who are struggling around this are still seeing this through the lens of, our people are struggling and we should look after them. And what ends up happening there is it always gets delegated to an HR lead or a people lead, and they don't see it through a leadership lens and therefore miss opportunity. There isn't always a mental health problem, but there's a stress problem. And what happens when the brain is stressed is its higher order cognitive functions get limited and people move into a space of executing what they already know but struggling to change. And so the biggest issue then in an environment which requires groups of people to change dynamically and very, very quickly is if your people are stressed, they're going to be very resistant to that and it's going to be harder to shift to where you need it to shift. So for me, the key thing is if your people have high levels of well-being, when you're presented with an external shock, that changes the conditions on which your business assumes performance, then it's relatively easy to get them to shift with you. If they are stressed, if they're just trying to manage what they're doing and you say, hey, guess what, all those things that you thought were important are no longer important, then you'll get resistance and change will be really, really hard. I think awareness of mental health and wellbeing is going up. A lot of leaders are genuinely worried about it, and it's because they care about their people. I think there's very few leaders that are not caring people, and the point that I make to them is that if you follow that line of logic, your answers will always be limited. If it's just about caring for your people, your answers will be limited. But if it's actually about the performance of your business, then just as you invest in supply chain as part of continuous improvement, just as you invest in customer relations as part of continuous improvement, you also invest in your people and their well-being as part of continuous improvement. So I think the part that's not dropping for a lot of leaders is that this issue won't go away. You can't simply say, didn't we do that training last year? It's actually about continuous improvement. It's about building the capability of your people to thrive in a quickly changing environment. And therefore it should be the top of any agenda of a leadership group continuously. And you should always seek for improvement rather than managing it and hoping it'll go away.